Yeah, this, like I said, this is the fun part of this job. I get to introduce the speakers. And I just kind of want to tell you, mark your calendars because we have a powerful lineup of speakers coming up. But without saying any more, I don't want to give them away to you. But our speaker today has a background in marine biology, graduated from Texas A&M. Whoop! And in 2018, she's currently working on her master's thesis regarding sea turtle age and growth, and she's been with the Gulf Center for Sea Turtle Research since its beginning. So how long is that, Paige? Since 2019. So it's a new program, but it sounds exciting. This year, she's taken over the nesting program as the manager and oversees this program along with 300 volunteers that are involved. And she brought some of them with her, and I'm going to let her kind of give you a little more information on them and how they fit into the program. So all these people are marine biologists. If they're doing something for turtles in the marine environment, they're marine biologists. So with no further ado, this is Miss Paige Breon. Okay, Paige, all
you. 1 second.
I'm Paige Breon. Here today I have Amy Mitchell. She is our new rehab and rescue coordinator. So she deals with all the stranding turtles we get and also works with necropsy. So that's when we get a deceased turtle in, we basically cut them open and get research on why they died. So that is her job. And then also Beth and Russ, they are the Surfside Zone leaders for Sea Turtle Patrol. They also house our UTVs, which is amazing. So we have 2 UTV routes, which I'll talk about this later. But yes, at their house, they keep our UTVs for us and keep us in check, and all the volunteers, they help out with everything. So if you have any questions after this presentation, you can go ask Beth for her address. But we also have QR codes and volunteer opportunities for y'all. So thank you so much for having me today. I love Texas Master Naturalists. Y'all are amazing. Y'all put in so many volunteer hours for so many amazing organizations, and I'd really love if some of y'all could come volunteer with us. So I'm going to talk about our center and then get into some of our programs. So, but first, got to talk about all the sea turtles of the world. So there's 7 species of sea turtles in the world. Is there a way to make that bigger? If y'all can see it good, then that's what. On that one. Are we able to make this a fuller screen? Sorry. No, you're good. So while we're making that bigger, so we have the 7 species. Leatherback is the largest turtle. That's the one on the top right. Those are also in the Gulf of Mexico. And then we have loggerheads. Those are in the Gulf of Mexico as well. They have the strongest jaw. They can crush actually about 500 pounds of force. And then we have our smaller species, our greens, hawksbill, and flatback. So greens and hawksbill are in the Gulf of Mexico. Flatbacks are only found in Australia. And then we have our Texas state sea turtle, the Kemp's Ridley, which I'm sure some of you have heard a lot about. They also nest on the Texas coast. We get Kemp's Ridley, loggerhead, and greens now are showing up on the Texas coast to nest. We have not gotten a green on the upper Texas coast yet, but we are waiting on that because they are moving further north. And then we also have the olive ridley, and that's kind of similar to the Kemp's Ridley, also in the Gulf. Okay, so here's our sea turtles on the upper Texas coast. So right here we have our Kemp's Ridley mama nesting. They come up, they lay their eggs, and then they return to the water. They don't take care of their babies at all. So on the upper Texas coast, we have Kemp's, loggerhead, green, hawksbill, and leatherback. And so those are all in our Gulf. They swim in our waters, they eat the food, and they migrate throughout the Gulf. You're good. And their ranges are expanding as well. So might come. Oh, the video. Yay. So that's our mama crawling on the beach. Yes. Yes. When they come up to nest, they are very slow. But once they hit that water, once they hit that water, they're going to jet off. But coming up to the sand, they have a little bit of a rough time. They're exhausted by the time they're done nesting. So the sea turtle life cycle in the Gulf of Mexico, so they start as eggs. So we have our mamas come and lay nests up here. Those hatchlings are actually taken down to South Padre right now because the Galveston, Surfside, and Bolivar beaches, we can drive on our beaches. It's not very safe to have nests. We've also done projects, which I'll talk about in a little bit, and we've placed like fake nests around and seen what would happen, and all of them were destroyed by either storms or tides. So all of these species are threatened or endangered. Kemp's Ridley are critically endangered. So we moved their eggs down to South Padre into an incubation facility, and that ensures their survival. They are packed in local sand, and our thought process is hatchlings, when they hatch out of their eggs, they imprint on the sand that they were laid in. So we're thinking since they're in the local sand packed, they're going to end up back in Galveston, Surfside, or Bolivar. Sorry, Amy. So also we have adults that migrate throughout the Gulf. They forage, eat our seagrass, jellyfish, crustaceans, and they use Christmas Bay along with Galveston Bay and the Gulf for like a foraging developmental area. So this is just some background on the Kemp's Ridley. So they're the most critically endangered sea turtle in the world, and that's because back in the 1970s, there's this one beach, it's Rancho Nuevo in Mexico, and that was their only site. And sea turtles, Kemp's Ridley especially, it's Kemp's and olive ridleys, they nest in what's called an arrabata. So they one mama will come to nest, and then all the mamas will get the signal, and they'll all come up to nest at the same time. So that's what that picture is showing. It's just like a mass nesting event. And so locals and other people, of course, wanting to take profit from this, they would go when they got this mass stranding event, take their eggs, sell them. People loved eating their eggs. So their population dropped a ton. As you can see in this little chart down here, 1947 is right here. We had about 120,000 nests and then went to less than 30. So the population is slowly regaining numbers because of the process we put with Padre Island. Dr. Donna Shaver took eggs from Mexico, and we made a second nesting site in South Padre Island. So that second nesting site, we were able to incubate the eggs, like I talked about before, and release those hatchlings in a safe environment. So their numbers have definitely rose because of our efforts. And so with our Sea Turtle Patrol, we're looking for nesting mamas to get those eggs and make sure we can get this critically endangered animal off that list. So some other things that have affected sea turtles and affect them now is marine debris. So we get a lot of marine debris up on the coast. We also do a lot of beach cleanups to help. So and Amy gets in a lot of stranded turtles. So they either just wash up on the beach and they're just sick, or they wash up entangled in things, or are found on fishing piers entangled in things. So we've had a couple in the past, like this one top right here was actually on a trash can lid. So its flipper got stuck. So people, they just dispose of anything and it gets into our waterways, and then it's turtles. Balloon strings are especially bad as well. As you can see, we had this one wash up on Galveston entangled in balloon strings. And we currently have a sea turtle in the hospital right now that was affected by fishing line. Its flipper was all tangled in fishing line, and it actually kind of cut off circulation for a little bit. So he has a puffy flipper right now, but he's recovering. So luckily he didn't lose his flipper, but he could have if that would have stayed on him. And then other threats to them are predators. We have those hybrid wolves on Galveston that I think a lot of people have heard about lately. And then also seagulls, crabs, fish. So these are predators to mostly like the hatchlings and the eggs. And another reason why we take their nests. Because if we leave them, these predators can go after them and then our population won't grow. So here's our 1866 Turtle 5 number. I'm sure some of y'all have heard about it before, but this is the number to call if you ever see a sea turtle either on the beach or you catch one fishing, basically a turtle in need. You'll call this 1866 number, and it will direct you to like the area you're in, and we'll get responders out there right away. So this is kind of like our rescue line. And so more about the mission of the Gulf Center for Sea Turtle Research. So it started in 2019. This is Dr. Chris Marshall. He is our PI. He's amazing. He's getting all the funding together for this center and also gets all the research items in place. So basically our overall mission is to put programs like Sea Turtle Patrol, rescue and recovery, outreach, and then research into the community, save these sea turtles. We're also raising funds to build a rehab and outreach center because right now, due to our permits, there's certain permits working with endangered animals, and we're not allowed to host tours at our makeshift hospital we have right now. So we're raising funds to make an education center along with a rehab hospital. So we can have tours and everyone can kind of come see what we're doing. Right now, it's like talks like this and social media that gets the word out.
Where is this located?
So we're located in Galveston. So we're partners, sorry about that. We are partners with A&M Galveston. So our makeshift hospital is on that campus currently, and our new hospital will be built on that campus as well. Some of our research activities. So our PhD student, Madeline, right now is doing satellite tracking of sea turtles. So this is to do with our long-term monitoring programs. So we do acoustic tags and satellite tags. Acoustic tags are in the next slide, so I'll wait for that. But satellite tagging is this little device right here. We put it on with epoxy. It does not hurt the turtle. And they also weigh it and make sure everything doesn't create more drag for them while they're swimming. So it does not cause any harm, just to let you know. But it also pings to a satellite the location of the sea turtle, so we can monitor where it's going, possibly why, see what it's doing in our bay, and seeing if it's using the bay for like a developmental habitat. These are some pictures of being released. So we usually tag sea turtles we get into the hospital once they are cleared by our vets. We work with the Houston Zoo. They are our vets. Once they're cleared, we'll put a tag on them and track them to see what they're doing and why. So these are some previous patients. That's a loggerhead we tagged. And I think in the next slide it shows, well, that's them putting the turtle into the water. I didn't know these were videos actually. So that's great. So this is, each line here is a different turtle. So this is what the satellite tracking shows us on a program that Madeline is great with. I'm not, but so it shows each location where the turtle's going. The point kind of shows like they're hanging around for a minute. And so then she's doing studies on why they're doing that. And then these are the acoustic tags I was talking about. So we also attach them, that's not the best photo, but we attach them to their carapace as well with epoxy. And this is just, it sends a ping. We have stations out in the bay, and every time they swim past that station, it sends a ping to it. So then we can track them in that way as well. So Madeline is also working on this. We have about 8 individuals being tracked like this. So that's a little bit about our tracking studies. And then this is the nesting beach habitat study I was talking about, that when they put these nests, so we do it at different portions of the dunes as well, because sea turtles will nest either at this portion, or this portion. Sometimes we see them get into vegetation, like in the back dunes, but it's not often. So Justin, our previous master's student, did his thesis over the results of this project and like if the nests would be affected by weather, predators, stuff like that. So he filled ping pong balls with water because sea turtle eggs are like the size of a ping pong ball. So he filled it with water to account for the weight of the baby turtle in there. And then placed these nests in Galveston, Bolivar, and Surfside, and also I believe one down in Padre for a reference nest. And so what he found with this data, he also tracked temperature because sea turtles, their sex is determined by temperature. So if it's cool, they will all become males. If it's in between, it's like a 50-50. And then if it's warmer, they will be all females. So we've noticed with like climate change and rising temperatures, nests are tending to be more female, which isn't bad, but you know, we need those males to make this population reproduce. So what Justin found is that all these nests would be affected by either temperature or they were washed out by tides and storms that we got that summer. So this is just a big indicator and kind of like we actually have the results to show that we're doing the right thing by taking these turtles to an incubation facility. Oh, this is my thing. So this is Sea Turtle Patrol. So this is showing how many miles we cover. So we cover 87 miles. We cover from Bolivar, Galveston, down to Surfside. So I would really love if y'all can help out in Surfside. I know Beth would too. So this is our awesome t-shirt, and then this is just, so we cover all the way down to Padre down here, but basically the whole Texas coast has Sea Turtle Patrol programs. So there's UTV routes and walking routes. We do the walking routes in Galveston Island and East Beach and Surfside. So there's one walking route on Surfside. It gets good exercise in. And then on Seawall, we cannot drive vehicles. Those are all walking along with East Beach. But usually it depends on the route you pick. It's not that far. It takes about an hour to 2 hours to complete one patrol, and you might get to see turtles. So that's always exciting. So these are some of our volunteer patrollers. So we do training every March. So y'all have a lot of time to decide if you want to join. But we do training in March, and we talk about all of our routes, the turtles, everything like that. And then these are actual pictures of our turtle tracks. So they'll come up on our beaches, lay their nest. Usually we don't always see the turtle, but sometimes we do. And if we do, it's a good opportunity to use some of those tags we have. And so yeah, this is our nesting program. That's our Kemp's Ridley. We mostly get Kemp's Ridley, like I said, but we do get the occasional loggerhead, and we're still waiting on a green to show up. I really hope it happens next year. But our season is April to July, and it's really only 15 weeks. So you can commit to one route once a week. That's 4 hours, 15 weeks. And I did the math, that's like 60 hours. And I know y'all need 40 for the year. So yay. You'll get those really fast working with us. Yes, yeah. But yeah, so it's a once a week commitment, maybe a couple hours a morning. We have shifts 7 to 9 a.m. and 10 to 12. And usually towards like June and July, we will have second shifts cut off. Well, definitely in July, second shifts 10 to 12. we don't do anymore because it's just so hot. No one wants to be walking out there, and we want everyone to stay alive. So in July, you might not even have 15 shifts. So there's that. So these are some of our patrollers. Those are the eggs, and in the styrofoam incubation we put them in. So, and then we also count them. So we have our nest responders go out and dig up the nest, get the eggs, and then we use this device to count them. So this nest had 97 eggs. We've had as many as 126 eggs in one nest and as little as 40. As the season goes on, mamas nest like 2 or 3 times a season. So like by June or July, they don't lay as many eggs. So then also, it's not just about turtles. You get to volunteer for a great organization. You get to see beautiful sunrises like this, be out on the beach. It's great. I hope I'm selling this. So here's a slide on our biological responders. So this is a team that Dr. Marshall puts together, and these are people that get trained and permitted to actually handle the sea turtle eggs and be able to transport them. So usually these are his students and like some community volunteers. I know we have a couple in Surfside that are sadly leaving us, like Tony Capretta up there, if y'all know Tony. She has been a great volunteer, but she just moved. So these are our biological responders. The process includes going and responding to a nest when it's found, doing a data sheet. We have to get GPS location and things about the turtle if needed. So filling out a data sheet and then getting to actually take the eggs out of the nest. And it doesn't hurt them. They're pretty soft because we get there within an hour to 2 hours and they are still soft at that point. So it's kind of like picking up a ping pong ball. You use your hand like a crane and set them down. So they don't get hurt in this process because the eggs harden later in their development. And that's another video, slow-mo. This is that mama returning to the water after nesting. And so our other programs, we all integrate together. So outreach, rescue and response, research, and the rehab hospital and Aggie Sea Turtle Patrol. Sorry, there's a lot now. But we all like to work together as a big team. We like our programs to work together. So we have volunteers that are in the hospital, on Sea Turtle Patrol, help with outreach, and help with stranding, which is rescue and recovery. So there's a lot of opportunity to get involved in any of our programs, and we all like to be one big team to help save the turtles. So this is Amy's thing, rescue and stranding. So NOAA used to have the rescue program, and they had their funding cut. So that's when Dr. Marshall took over in about 2019. And so now GCSTR takes care, but we also still submit all the data still goes to NOAA, but they're not involved in it anymore. I know Galveston used to have a NOAA sea turtle barn where they raised, well, they still are. They're almost done with their funding though. But they raised loggerheads for TED testing, and then they also had a rehab hospital and took care of stranding. So if you've heard about like the Galveston NOAA hospital, it is all now in GCSTR. And so this program, we get calls into the 1-866 Turtle 5 line, and it's either a nest, maybe hatchlings, a stranding on a fishing pier, a turtle on the beach. Just this past weekend, we had about 6 loggerheads come in, and some of those are around like 81st Street. Some of them were in Bolivar. Some of them, they all have like separate challenges. So we get a lot of help from the public calling that in, and then we got to put together a plan to respond. So sometimes we utilize Beach Patrol, like they helped us get the turtle off 81st this weekend because that's not really a place that you can drive. So we're thankful for like the park board and Beach Patrol because they always help us with that. But if it's an area that we can drive on, we can just get there right away. So we usually have our volunteers, we'll call them or text out a mass message to all of our volunteers in the certain area, and y'all can respond. We have stranding kit locations. Sorry, my mind's going really fast. We have stranding kit locations in Bolivar, Galveston, and Surfside. Is there one more? Yes. Okay, so 2 in Galveston. And that's where we keep totes that you can go pick up. We have backpacks, we have stranding data sheets. So you'll go pick up your tote and all the stuff you need, and then you can respond to that turtle. Little turtles, it's okay to have a smaller car, but for these loggerheads, man, we need like trucks to bring them in because they're huge. So that's a little bit about the rescue part. And then any turtles that are live will go to our rehab hospital, or we have a second location with the Houston Zoo that they'll go to hopefully get rehabbed and end up being sent out back into the Gulf with a tag so we can track them. But sadly, if they are deceased, they go to necropsy, and then we're able to get research samples, figure out why they're dying, and help the species. So that's just a little bit about the rescue and recovery program. And then this is some of our volunteers. We do have a lot of Texas master naturalists from the Bay Area that help us right now, and that's why we want to get Brazoria County ones. So a lot of them are in these pictures. This is our little makeshift hospital in the background, and this is a loggerhead. This is our like little medical stretcher that sometimes we have to put them on because they're just so big. Sometimes it's all hands on deck. And so these are all turtles that we're taking to the hospital and rehabbed, and then we got to release. And we have rehabbed about 280, I believe, since the beginning. The hospital started in 2020, of December 2020. The stranding started in 2019. So since 2020, there's been about 280 that we've helped rehab. And then another fun thing, during the winter, we get cold suns. And so these are like mass stranding events. Turtles will not be able to get out of the bay or Gulf fast enough when this cold weather comes in, and they end up freezing. So this is one of those cold sun events. We have students and our volunteers go out into like Christmas Bay area to look for these cold suns, and they come in huge numbers. Some of them are already frozen and we can't help them, but a lot of them will be able to warm up and release when the water gets warmer. Yes. And then this is about our rehab hospital. So currently we're still kind of in the beginning phase as we're raising money for funds to build our outreach center. So right now we're in the Wetlands Center in A&M Galveston's campus. And so this is kind of our short-term hospital, and that's been complete. So our phase 2 is seeking funding to build our big hospital. And the great thing about that, when that's built, is it will be a tourist location. So South Padre Sea Turtle Inc., I believe they bring in like $3 million a year, and I might be wrong about this. They might have 3 million tourists a year. Yes, we get around 7 million. And they're self-sustaining down there. So a great thing about us is when this turtle hospital is built, with all the tourists coming in to see, we'll be self-sustaining. Right now we're running on grants.
Where did you say
It's going to be at the university. So the Wetlands Center is our temporary one, and there's some land behind that. So basically when you go over the bridge, it's to the left. Another great thing about being on a university campus is we have a lot of student help. And we're able to have undergrads as well as grad students help us, and a lot of them that have in the past couple years now are working at rehab centers for sea turtles. They're in marine mammal stranding. They're all over the place. So it's also great for students at A&M to get a jump start in their marine biology, marine science career. So this was the phase of building the hospital. So we had a lot of student help. We had to bring in these big tanks and kind of get this all set up. And Teresa Morris, our rehab manager, is amazing. She did it really fast because as soon as we got this up, we got cold stuns in. So it was great because we were able to help all those turtles. So this was phase 1 that we completed. This is the inside of the hospital and what it looks like now. So we have these big tanks and we can house all these turtles. Oh, that's a video.
So I realize it depends on size, but rough numbers, how many turtles could you have?
So in the tanks, we can actually, so this is a tank by itself, but we have dividers. So honestly, Teresa has had about 60 turtles in there before. Not all in tanks. They can be dry docked in totes. Like when there's cold stuns, they can be dry docked in a tote until there's tank room. And we swim test them in like low levels of water. So there's been a lot of turtles in our hospital before, just not all in the tanks. Sorry. Yes.
Do you do any work?
FP. So she's asking if we do work with sea turtles with FP, which is fibropapillomas. And those are tumors that grow on sea turtles, and it's very contagious. So in our hospital, we have curtain that and like a divider in our room. So we have FP tanks side, and then we have normal turtle side. And all that water is filtered. The FP turtles do not contaminate the non-FP. And same with all of our tools. We have like it's a completely different world over on the FP side. But yes, we do work with them. And since we partner with the Houston Zoo, our vets actually just removed a bunch of tumors from one of our. So the FP tumors, if they're like on their shell or close to an area that cannot be stitched up, they don't get removed. But if they're like on their flippers, on their eyes, anywhere that you can put a, we remove them. Well, the vets remove them, go through medicine treatment, and hopefully then are released. So that's a little bit about FP. Yes, and not all facilities take FP turtles. So that's another good side of GCSTR. We'll take them all. So yeah, we partner with the Houston vets, and then also sometimes during our releases, we partner with the Coast Guard. They'll take us out on our ship so then we can release the turtles further offshore. And we also use the Sea Life facility at A&M Galveston sometimes as a backup when we cannot fit turtles in the hospital because it's a small space. One day we're going to have space for everything, but we do utilize the Sea Life facility with Katie St. Clair, who runs that, and she has extra tank room over there for cold stuns. So when we get patients in, this is just photos of our great volunteers in the hospital. When we get patients in, we measure them with these calipers right here, and these are used for nesting and stranding. So that's how we get their measurements, and then we weigh them, do an intake with the vet, and they get a medical treatment plan and are put in a tank. So this is the time we partnered with the Coast Guard to release some of the cold stun turtles offshore. They're great. So sometimes we release from the beach, sometimes we release offshore. And then we also do public releases. Oh, can you go back? We also do public releases. This is great outreach for the community. We don't do it all the time just because they can get a little crazy. And, you know, we put the rope up, but people don't care. So we don't do them all the time. We usually do them when we have about 5 or more turtles that are cleared for release. And we'll post it on our social media pages. We usually release in Galveston off the beach in front of Academy. So definitely at the end of this presentation, follow us on Facebook and Instagram because we announce it the day before if you want to come see a turtle release. So these are some of our volunteers in the past that have released turtles. So this is the phase 2 of the hospital. So these are, Dr. Marshall got with an architect and designed this building. So this is kind of what the building will look like. Hopefully it will get built in around 2 years. We just submitted 2 last grants that would push us to the 20 million that we do need. But we're always open to other ideas about where we could get funding from. So yeah, so this is the new hospital. It will have a public outreach center as well as an area that people can come see the sea turtles in the tanks. Because of permits, you can only have like permanent patients that cannot be released back into the wild as the ones that you're having the public come see. But then we'll have a separate room for our hospital that will have windows so the public will still be able to see the turtles and see them getting care. You just can't be like right by them. So that is the idea for that. And then, so this is where the wetland center is right now. And so behind it is where the hospital will be. So yeah, it will have a vet clinic, auditorium. We're going to have gift shop, all that stuff, which I think I talked a lot about already. So, sorry, what? Yes, Pelican Island. I say Galveston just because I'm used to that. But yeah, it's Pelican Island where A&M is. And then we also do outreach programs with the schools. So we have sea turtle gardens. Our greens love veggies. So they eat lettuce, kale, peppers, cucumbers, zucchini, and it's all grown by GISD kids. So this is a partnership with Honey from the Galveston-owned Farmers Market, and she put these gardens in the schools, and then we were like, hey, can we have sea turtle gardens as well? So it's really cool. These kids are getting like the outreach opportunity to, I know they can't come see our turtles right now, but they can be like, oh my God, I grew that lettuce for our turtles. Because Teresa likes to send videos to the kids so they can see them eating the veggies. So free food.
So if we had excess in our gardens, we could bring it?
Yes. Yes. Also, I know it might be far for some of y'all, but the sea turtle gardens are looking for help with them, like as a garden aid, and I can get y'all info about that if you'd like to help. It's only in GISD schools right now, but if anyone has Brazoria County School like hookup, maybe we could start some sea turtle gardens here. Yes. Yay. Yeah, because I mean, these turtles go through so much food. It's insane. They eat shrimp, squid. Some of our camps are picky and they're getting crab right now. They're fancy. Yeah. But free veggies is great. And it's great for kids to grow that food for them. And then we also have a recruitment and engagement team that's going to events like this and kind of running the table like Amy is doing today, talking about our programs and trying to get volunteers. And we also have a beer, if you have not heard. So Galveston Island Brewing partnered with us. They first made a hazy IPA the first year, and that didn't stick around. But this Loggerhead Lager has stuck around for a while, and they're trying to keep it as like a continuous thing. So we don't want this to go away. So if y'all love beer, it's good, and the proceeds go towards our programs. Yes. Because you can get this at any like Kroger. I'm not sure what grocery stores are around the area, but like Kroger, HEB carries it. And also you could make a trip down to Galveston and see where it's brewed at Galveston Island Brewing. So yeah, all the proceeds go towards turtle help. And then we also always recognize our amazing volunteers and donors. And so we have Sea Turtle Conservation Hero Awards. This was from 2021. This was the first awards given out, and these are actually all, oops, sorry. These are actually all master naturalists. Yay! And then this was from 2022. So these are just volunteers and donors that have just given up time, energy, anything. They're over the top and contribute so much for sea turtle research and conservation. So we like to reward them. And another good thing about being a Sea Turtle Patrol volunteer is we have our end of the year party at Galveston Island Brewing. So you can come and drink beer and talk about your patrol season. So yeah, so that's where we always have that party and the awards are given out for the year. So how you can help. I hope I told you enough volunteer opportunities today. But yeah, volunteering with any of our programs from Sea Turtle Patrol, which we really need, stranding we really need as well, to the hospital. The hospital is kind of like on a wait list right now. Everyone wants to get in there. But our programs that are in dire need are Sea Turtle Patrol, Outreach, and Stranding. There's also a Sea Turtle license plate you can get for your car, and that is like a yearly cost. The $22 from that, I think it's $30 a year. $22 of that comes back to our center and our programs. And we have the info over there. And then we also have website where you can purchase merch and just wear our t-shirts, our hats to represent us. That gets the word out as well. And then we also always have an Amazon wish list. So the public, if they want to help in any way, they can buy stuff for the hospital and the turtles off that wish list. So all this information, if you need it, I can email it. And also we have it over there at the table if you want to talk to us after. Any questions? So questions, and then also this slide is to sign up for our programs. It's a QR code, so you just take out your phone and you can click on that and it will take you to the sign up sheet. We also have papers over there with them if that's easier. But
that was really good.
thanks.
Is it on? Okay. One of the things, it doesn't surprise me that y'all are going to South Padre Island because Surfside is the most erosive beach in the world. Did you know that?
I didn't know in the world.
We had
I knew it was bad, but not the
we
world.
had a presentation here that from A&M. Remember that? Anyway, the question is, did you guys rescue the turtle at Quintana Beach, and what was wrong with it?
When was
It was like last week.
Amy might come over and help me. Yeah, you can.
Yeah, we actually had a great volunteer answer within about 2 to 3 minutes, because anytime we have a stranding, we'll send a group text out. And she was able to drive down there, and she was actually our hotline operator for the day. So I took her off of that shift and let her go rescue this turtle. But we got it back to our NOAA facility, and I believe it's currently there, still fighting. Most of these guys are passing away within the first 24 hours, but I always love to say, like, the first 24 hours are the most stressful. And so even when this animal's on the beach, just getting it off the beach is such a big relief for that animal because of the gravity. There's not much gravity on them once they're back at the facility. And there's not a lot of noises and sounds. And so even if we can just get it off the beach within an hour is a big help. So, yeah.
I've got it.
Stress is a factor. There is an unknown reason, which is why stranding is so important. And so when we get these dead sea turtles in and we do need crop seeds, we're able to take samples, send them out, because sometimes it's obvious, sometimes it's a boat strike. A lot of times it's in the tissues, and so we'll send them out for analyzing and stuff like that. And so that's why these reports. Yeah, that turtle is kind of an unknown reason because of all these loggerheads coming in with similar symptoms. But again, that's why it's important.
I've got a question. When you detect a nest on our beaches and you recover the eggs and take them to South Padre, when you release those young turtles, do you know if they come back to South Padre or do they come back to the original nesting location for re-nesting and, the next life cycle?
So the idea is, since we pack them in the local sand and they hatch in that container in the local sand, is that they're imprinting on that sand. So they're likely to return to the location, but there hasn't been like confirmation yet. So yeah, so they're hatched in that sand, but then released on Padre. So it could be a 50-50.
Second question here while I got the mic. Do you ever record successful nests on our beaches that maybe you discovered after the fact?
Oh, yes. Yeah, so like we had 2 recently. So they were missed. It could be from any reason. And so we usually get calls to the hotline when that happens, or volunteers. Usually our Sea Turtle Patrol volunteers still continue walking or doing their route even after the season's over. So they'll call it in, and we actually go out and ensure that all the hatchlings either made it, count their eggs, and then send the eggshells down to Padre. So they are documented.
Yeah, my regarding
Okay.
like several of us with the program from Quintana down to Matagorda. So if we additionally volunteered, say Surfside or Fallets Island, the training requirements I assume would be the Padre Island Padre Island training, and then you have a local training for your patrollers.
Yes.
And then
For Sea Turtle Patrol, you're required to do the online Padre training, and then you're required to do the online training or in-person training with us.
okay,
That's for Sea Turtle Patrol.
Right.
For nesting, it's pretty similar. If you're just wanting to, for stranding, if you're just wanting to do stranding, there's also an online stranding training with Padre Island, and then there's also our hands-on stranding training. If this is your first year going into it, you have to do the hands-on training, but every year after that, you just have to attend that virtual training. Either there's one in the fall and there's one in the spring. The one in the spring is nesting training as well as stranding training, and so if you're just a nesting patroller, you can just take the spring training because you get both in one.
okay. So if say for those of us that are already excavation certified through Padre, would that in itself carry over, or is there additional excavation training you guys require?
So for us on the Upper Texas coast to excavate the eggs, you have to get trained in person with Dr. Marshall as well, because Dr. Marshall has a permit and then Donna Shaver has a permit. So you have to be on Dr. Marshall's.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh my God. Oh, yes, yes.
For years, I've learned about the turtles from both Galveston and Padre. And a couple of years ago, I saw a program that was up in New England where they had a freeze. And it caught me by surprise to see that report that they were up in New England, and it was a cold thing that they got hit with that they were covering. And they were definitely overwhelmed with Kemp's Wrigley. I guess one of my questions is what is the full range of Kemp's? I mean, everything that I've learned over the years from Galveston and Padre seems like they're here in the Gulf. And when I saw that report that they were actually made it up into New England, not necessarily the effect that the cold had, but that they were there, I found that pretty intriguing.
So I think most people think that they're just in the Gulf because of our nesting. And they do nest in the Gulf. They nest Mexico, Padre, and Galveston. That's all the nests we have right now. But there actually was some in Louisiana. Do you remember what year?
It was, I think it was last year.
Yeah, so they were found nesting in Louisiana too. So their range is definitely expanding, but that's just regarding nesting. As for traveling around, they can go into the Atlantic, they go down to the Caribbean.
Just for what it's worth, Phil, there's a site on Cape Cod that's run by the Audubon Society. and I've been there, and this is where they catch the cold stun turtles. The Kemps make it all the way up there. These are normally juvenile. They're following the Gulf Stream, and some of them actually make it over to England. They've been recorded that far. But these are mostly juveniles that are not in the nesting stage. They're just wandering around, eating, and enjoying life until it gets real cold.
Yeah.
But I was really surprised. They do this cold stun rescue up in Cape Cod.
Yeah, so yeah, they follow that current, and we're actually going to get a sea turtle from Welsh. That is a Kemp's Ridley that we're going to get flown into our hospital, and we're going to get to tag that to see kind of like, why are you going that way? Yeah. Yeah, that's seafood.
I have another question. Actually, it relates to what you've already discussed, but you had a slide there showing the tracking path, was that one turtle or several turtles?
So that was several. So each color was a different turtle. And if needed, we can go back to that slide if you'd like.
Well, I gathered from that they were not traveling very far for some reason. So I missed the point. I guess that's what that was over a short period of time that they went 80 miles or 70 miles. So it's not like that was like where they spend a considerable amount of time.
Yeah, so that was in a short time frame that exact tracking photo screenshot was taken. Most of that was within like the 10 or 20 days after they left our facility. And it also could have been around the time and month that we took that screenshot. So that could be why.
So I'm going to say that Donna Shaver has, they've done a lot of work on tracking, and she's got a paper out that's really interesting. Tracking on not just Kemps, but also loggerheads. And they get them and tag them right after they've laid their eggs and want to know where they forage. They tend to forage all the way down from Campeche in Mexico, tend to forage all the way up into the northeast Gulf of Mexico, our area, all the way around to Louisiana. They're bottom feeders, mostly the loggerheads. And this is where they find the rich food. So they're all over the Gulf, but they concentrate themselves in our part of the Gulf of Mexico. And these are hundreds.
Yeah.
What I found interesting about this picture was the one in the red is going all the way up into the bay, but it looks like it's staying, it's sticking close to land, and these other guys are going way out.
Yeah. So, because Madeline tags loggerheads and Kemps, I wish she was here because she could give more info on that because that's her thing. But yeah, I think these are loggerheads. I'm sorry.
The green one, how far out from the coastline is that?
I'm sorry.
Looks more than 20.
Yeah.
It's like 100 miles or something like that.
It's a bit out there.
I know Dr. Marshall has had, I believe it was green sea turtles that he's tracked all the way to Louisiana. And so they're just going all over the place. So I think a part of tagging is there's always going to be some points that are off, but I know they have found turtles up in the Houston Ship Channel. So they do go up. I'm not sure if that's where that is, but it could be off point, but I know they do have turtles that do go up there.
As we found out this morning, technology doesn't always work.
Yeah. This is why you have to have a lot of data to prove your point.
Yeah, sorry, I'm not an expert on the tracking aspect. I know the little bits, but my next presentation, I will know everything.
Okay, there was a question online when you talk about sending the eggs to Padre. Do you mean Padre Island at Corpus or Padre Island
Like South Padre Island with Dr. Donna Shaver at the National Island Seashore Facility.
And then you did say that you'll email us all of your contact stuff for people that are interested.
Yes.
Okay. All right. And then we'll send that out to the chapter.
Okay, perfect.
Have any more questions here in the room? Okay. Anything else online? No. Thank you all so much. I hope we'll get some folks that are, you're already down on Follett's Island. I know Larry's got a place down there. I think some other folks might. It's especially for those of you in the southern part of the county, it's not that far. For me, it's a bit of a drive, but when we were doing shrike tracking down there, it's wonderful to be out on Follett's Island. So please consider it. Okay.